Hey guys, okay, so I just want to show you a maybe not so quick edit and how to bring the magic to your photos. So this is my straight out of camera photo. I actually shoot in JPEG, or I shot in JPEG for these because these are my kids and that's okay for me. Um, but totally up to you. I know a lot of people prefer not to shoot in JPEG. So I do use actions and brushes, and I think that's one of the big things to learn about Photoshop. Once you start getting these actions and brushes down, it really helps with your time. So a lot of times I will make my own action. This one is actually from Nicole Smith. I don't think that you can buy it, but you could do it by hand. I'm just gonna play it, and this one just kind of brightens it up for us. I got this one from her workshop, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of brightness because the sun is behind us, obviously. So I'm gonna brighten that up. Looks good to me. I'm gonna flatten. I have a lot of photos open, so darn it, I hope this doesn't take forever. I'm gonna have to shut some of these. Okay. So we brighten it a little bit. Let's see, next I'm going to go to some of my favorite actions, and it's Erin Toll, her Let Them Be Little actions. I think I've had them for a couple years. I like to use a depth of field enhancer. I used a 70 to 200 lens. Now, because she's an infant, she's 4 months old, I got as far away from her as I could. And you can see that nice blur that you get right here. See this kind of ringing that happens. It's pretty smooth back there. I like a lot of cream. So a lot of times I will just go ahead and just add a little bit more cream. Some people can get messed up with this, and you really want to make sure that you do it correctly. Otherwise, your picture's gonna look funky. And it takes time. Anything worth doing takes time. So I'm gonna show you how to use a brush really quick on your depth of field enhancer. So anyway, you're just gonna grab your brush. Up here at the top, you've got your normal mode on, your opacity. That's gonna make it, of course, the higher your opacity is, the blurrier that it's gonna be when you brush it on. White reveals and black conceals. So black is gonna be your eraser. So if I were to do this guy right here, don't wanna do that. Hardness is gonna make my line straighter. So it's gonna be less blurry the harder that it is. And that's kind of cool. So I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. So see, you could do black as your eraser. So if I want to do white and add it back on, white would add it back on. Okay, so that kind of helps. Anyway, I'm gonna start over and play it again. I love that she puts a smiley face. Associate paint over non-essential parts of the image to bring focus to your subject. Okay, decrease the opacity of the brush as I near the subject to avoid visible marks. Think gradual. This is actually for newborn photography, I would say, and it helps with that. But I always use it for my outdoor photos. I don't really use it for my newborn photography. So my favorite size of brush is 1200. I know it's kind of big. So you just have to use your common sense with this one. I hardly ever do anything at 100. Things that are further away from you, further away from your lens, are going to be more blurry. Once you start getting up here into the grass, you need to change your opacity. Otherwise, that's where you're going to get a funky looking image, and it's going to be very obvious that you blurred something out, and you don't want that. I personally, I want it to look, more natural, like it's all my lens, like it's just magical. Okay, so even that tree, see, that tree is obviously going to be a little bit closer to us, so I'm not going to blur that tree just yet. So I start off, of course, with the blurriest in the back, my opacity the highest back here. Come on, little sucker, don't do that. And I wait to get closer to the tint, because for that, I'm gonna have to change my, come on, thing. Seriously, what's going on here? Bye, trying to catch up to me. I'm gonna have to change my hardness because I'm gonna get closer to that tint. And I want it to be very precise, and I don't want to get too close, because what it does is it grabs the colors and it blurs them together. So you want to get a little close. See, it's kind of looking wonky to me. You do not want it to be obvious. So very straight line. I could even go smaller with this brush and take even longer to do this, but it's good You see how it's pulling that pink out into the center? Gotta be real careful. So the smaller brush that you use, the better it's gonna be. Okay, so see, that looks alright. Got a little, I'm gonna go boop. Pull that back there. We want it to be blurry. Blur, 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 blur. Why do we like blurry things in the background? I don't know. I feel like it adds something to the photo. Okay. Now, let's get on out of there. So we can look at take this layer off so you can see before and an after. It's not a humongous difference, but it's difference. And then I think I'm going to just flatten that. Okay. So I'm going to play it again. Let's go bigger. Let's make our hardness pretty soft. I'm going 800. Opacity is at 35. I'm just going to go one more time. Just around the edges, down the middle. Get it real nice and creamy. I wish I had a 200mm lens, but ain't got money for that right now. Okay. So I'm going to take my opacity down. I'm going to make my brush smaller. I'm going to worry about this grass. I want it to be blurry, but I don't want to go cuckoo nuts with it because I don't want my stuff to be looking all crazy. And now I'm going to go and do the tree. It's not going to make a huge difference on the trees. I mean, actually even get rid of them. I feel like they're a little bit distracting. It's a little not the way I want it to look. I'm going to go into this basket right here because I can't leave it out. Okay. I'm going to paint it. Yep, I just did that. Okay. Boop. Boop. Okay, we don't want to go cuckoo. We want to be realistic, right? Okay. And we're going to get a little bigger, and then I think up here in the front, it's already got the natural lens blur. You see how it starts to do this? I don't know what this technically is called, but it's a nice little tilting. Oh, see how creamy it already was? Oh, it was lovely. Okay, so let's go down a little bit. Boop. Gentle, almost like a paintbrush. Don't be too crazy. Let's see what it looks like. I'm actually going to bring it down. I'm going to erase a little, so I'm going to change that to black. Right here is a little too much for me. And I just go, my opacity is at 11, so it's just real light. Slightly erasing, and then we can kind of see what that looks like. Okay, we don't want to be crazy with it. Let's go in here. Beep. We have our black little eraser on. I'm going to make it really hard, which means those lines are going to be really straight. Okay, and I'm going to up our opacity to pretty much all the way because we don't want this to be blurry, because if this gets blurry, it's going to blend into my background. It's going to look all funky, and we don't want to be looking all funky, right? Okay. Oh, even smaller, right? Oh, tiny. My husband bought me a Wacom tablet for Christmas, and I returned it. Kind of wish I would not have done that, because here I am going down this little bitty nonsense with my mouse. Boop. Let's see what happens. It almost looks like we painted. Oh. See, we're gonna do Control Z. I'm gonna just put that back. Oh. Let's change our opacity. Put that back on there a little bit. See how it was obvious. We don't want to be so obvious. All right. We want to be subtle. Simple, subtle. So 9. We're gonna have to make it a little bit smaller. 7. And this just takes a lot of time to get done. Ooh. Okay. You see how you can, we're erasing it off the flowers now. Just want to make sure, you never know what did you accidentally touch. This is where we're going to go down with our opacity and make our brush a little bigger. So the lower your hardness, the more blurry your edges are going to be when you're unpainting something. And sometimes that helps, because when you have those straight lines, it really kind of brings it out. Okay, so see, it's important that we get rid of that. And now it's blurry nice in there between the basket. Just make sure that we didn't touch these flowers. I'm not going to go crazy with the sky, but I just want to make sure that she's not blurry. Okay. Boop. See the difference in the tree? And then a little bit in the front, and then right here. Okay. Flatten. Oh, that tree. Do we want to keep it? I think for this little tutorial, I kind of like the tree, kind of don't. I don't know. Let's see. Sometimes what I'll do is to give it a little test. I'm going to use the clone stamp. I know it's going to look crazy, guys. Don't get scared. I'm going to be like that old guy that paints. And he makes boo-boos, and then he kind of fixes it. And you're like, oh, I thought you were messing it up, but you fixed it. Okay. Go a little crazy. Get rid of it. Now, I could have made a... Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Made another layer. So that I could revert back, but I mean, let's try that. Okay, this is a lot of green happening over here, so I'm really... Alright, now I'm going to make a layer. Let's see how this looks. Nice, giant, no, bigger brush, lower opacity. Let's paint that sucker. What do you look like on that page? Looking a little gray over there. Let's grab some peaches color. Let's give you a nice little, oh yeah, a nice little paint. I think I like that. I feel like this is a lot of work to do, and it is. Some clients may not know, you know, they don't really know. People don't really know what they're looking at. But I know what I'm looking at. I like this color. Let's see. Don't go crazy. Change that opacity lower. Boop, 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 boop. Yes. Sometimes I have music playing, but I did that. You guys might not be able to hear me. I think when I do these minis next time, I might put something additional to this lace in this teepee. Because it's really, it's sheer, so it's really showing through, and that's kind of bothering me. Okay, and then we're going to do the eraser over here. Same thing as earlier. And, oh, you see the difference? Like, I might not even want to paint that, because I kind of like that's better. Alright, let's do that. Let's lower it just a tiny bit. Just going to erase a teensy tiny bit off. I don't even know if I want to do that. Maybe. I'm not sure. Hi, honey.
What are you doing?
Shh. Mommy's working. You go play.
Okay, can I get that canoe?
Sure. Go to your room. Be very quiet. It's nap time in our house. Okay, so... See, I'm telling you, guys, this takes forever. Alright, now, is it magical or is it overdone? We don't know yet. So, there's that. Alright. I think I'm probably going to keep it. Okay. So I'm going to zoom in. You can see this is where it becomes a pain in the tushy. If you want your images to look magical, we're going to jump up our opacity. Some people have asked me, they're like, oh, you do these amazing photos of your kids. I even had somebody comment, like, the comment, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was kind of leaning towards, why don't every single photo that you do for every single client, why doesn't it look this magical kind of thing? And the reason is that when I do photos of my kids, I get like one good photo, and I focus on that, and I do all this crazy editing for their one photo so that I can print it or whatever. And my clients, typically, you know, they're wanting like 20 photos or something crazy depending on the session. And obviously this takes a lot of time. So it's like quality over quantity. Like what do you guys want more? Do you want a beautiful photo like this that you're going to hang and display, or do you want to have 20 so-so photos? So I am happy to do this kind of editing on all of my sessions, but you would obviously end up with less photos or, you know, a more expensive session because this takes so dang long. It just really depends on the session. And also depends on how crazy parents go with like props and balloons and this is kind of a lot of props for me. So obviously the more props that you have, the harder it's going to be for me to edit it and like see all these flowers and everything I have to do. That's going to take more time. Make a smaller brush. This kind of is important. We don't want it, oops, see that little line right there? We don't want people to think our photo looks wonky, and I don't want it to look wonky either. So we could even go lower on our opacity when we're erasing. We can have it look dreamy, but we don't want to be crazy. And there could be other photographers out there that do something like this, and maybe they do it a lot quicker. There might be some things I don't know. I'm not telling you guys this is the only way that you can do it. I just wanted to show you how I do it because it is time consuming to get all these little bitty details. But hey, they're important, right? Okay. Voila! And is it kind of a little much editing, like overly done? Who cares? Okay, so you could look at the layer. I always do, like everything I do, any kind of brushes or layers, before I flatten my image, I look at it like 15 times. I'm like, okay, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And you know what? I like it, but what we could do is we could bring down the opacity like a teensy bit. You know, you could bring it all the way down and just have a slight haze going over. And so you higher your opacity up and think, oh, all the way. Bring it down. I'm going to do that. Okay. And then I'm going to do one more. I'm going to do that. I'm going to blur it a tiny bit more. I'm going to use a large brush. Pretty low opacity. Of course, I'm going to start back here at the top. And I just want to blur that paint in with my background a little bit more. And maybe up here at the top, maybe I want to really have it blurry. Get it all in there, all creamy and delicious like. Okay. Shut up, I have it in white. Right. See, I pay attention. Okay. Alright. Lots of creamy on the ends. I know, here's that. Oh, that's too much. Goodness gracious. At 95%. No, we don't want to do that. That's a little crazy. And flatten. Let's see. Somebody text me. Sounds good. Okay. Now, what happens when I add that other brighten up layer where it brightens up in the center is that I kind of lose the detail in the baby's face. And I also shoot with Nikon, and I feel like that tends to shoot a little bit flatter. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a natural skin smoother. This is a greater than Gatsby. I think this pack was like $30. Probably the best investments I ever made. Can you do these things by hand? Yes. But do I anymore? No, because I mean, I just don't have time for that nonsense. Okay. I mean, obviously, I'm doing over editing. Like, I need some assistance. Okay, so I'm zoomed in pretty deep, so don't judge my clarity too much. Again, 7200, super far away from my baby. I'm going to take the opacity of this, and we don't want her to look like plastic, but with this over editing that I've been doing lately, gosh darn it, we don't want to touch her eyes. Let me make it a little smaller. Just gonna paint her because she's my kid. She can look a little bit more plastic-like. I mean, gosh, look at that perfect little face. She's so cute. All right, so that's without it, and that's with it. And this, I find, actually makes your photos look a little bit more crisp. Crazy, right? If you brush something that you didn't want to have brushed, like her nose, put on your black. Remember, white reveals, black conceals. Put on your black, and just paint over her nose and her eyes, just to make sure, and her little mouth. So cute. Okay. And flatten. And then you could even do white in her eyes, because after we put that haze on them, it kind of changes them a teensy tiny bit. Oh, come on, guy. I'm gonna zoom in. All right. Now I'm really in, so don't be judging it. Okay, let's see. Ooh, we need tiny. We're doing her eyes. Oh, see, that was a little cuckoo. Let's bring it down. Let's make that hardness about 35, and let's go about 7 here. I'm gonna be a little tiny by her eyes, just a little. We just want to make sure that her eyes are nice and defined. Boop. We don't want to go cuckoo nuts again, okay? A little 50. We don't want to go crazy. You can really see all the pixels in this when you're like super close. Okay. I'm gonna come out, and that, see how her eyes are just kind of brighter. Boop, popped. All right, so I'm gonna lower the opacity for that. It's a little much for me. Okay, flatteen. And then again, I know you guys are gonna hate this, but I'm gonna do a detail brush. This is like old school stuff here. This is the Florabella Color Play Actions. I don't remember how much this was, but I got this when I first started, and it's a lot of brushes, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing, and I never used it. And now that now that I've known how to use brushes for a while, I started using them again, and I'm like, holy moly, wish I would have known that before. I wish somebody would have showed me. All right, so this is a detail brush. Woo, we don't want to go bonkers. Again, nothing's bonkers. We want to go slight with everything. Now, if this was a super close photo, it would look even better, because I like to brush their lashes, and this kid has amazing lashes. However, we didn't get a ton of detail, and I'm going to kind of do her mouth a little bit. Take the opacity down for that, and my size of my brush. Maybe her little nostrils. Definitely, I like to do the headband. I mean, it's gorgeous. Twine and lace headband. Okay. And again, without and with. And that just brings a little bit of the definition back to her eyes. Now I'm going to do a tiny bit. Don't kill me, guys. I know this is over editing. This is not the norm. But we're going to paint some blush. Again, you can totally do this by hand. Oh, her little root. Now, I can't go out of the house without blush on. Someone once told me that was like an old lady thing. But I'm a white girl. I need some color. Okay. Look at her. She looking so cute. We just don't want to lose the definition of her with all these other deep props that we have going on. Okay, there's other brushes in here. There's like color brushes and stuff. I'm going to try this Sharpen Defog one. Let's see how it looks on this. Woo! Okay, now, it's pretty darn sharp. And remember, I haven't run any color actions on this thing at all. This is, it was straight out of camera, and then we just added the warmth in the center. So we haven't messed with any of the color, toning, curves, levels, nothing like that. And usually I'll probably do that first, but for this image, I'm doing so much work to it that I don't want to add a color action to it. I don't feel like it's necessary, and so it hasn't been sharpened. Of course, I sharpen my images. I feel like it's a must. Like, you've got to sharpen things. And so what this does is it sharpens for you. And I actually, on this, I'm loving it. I'm not even going to take it down. I'm just going to flatten it. I'm not even going to change my opacity. I like it. You can do an unsharp mask and just see what it looks like. But chances are, because I've already sharpened, it's not necessary, but I mean, a tiny bit, maybe. Okay. Just a little bitty bit. Get Julia, look at her. She's so cute. Okay. Let's touch our curves. Now, the thing is, this is so blown out. If I do curves, I bet you it's going to blow. You see what it does? Woo, it's so bright. That's not going to work. So we're going to erase that level. All right, layer, sorry. I am, though, because Nikon shoots so flat, lately I've been adjusting my saturation a bit. And that's kind of, you don't even really need to adjust the color or add a filter or anything like that to it. So I'm just, once you adjust that saturation, you see how much more golden it gets because the color is already there. So there's no need really to add anything to it. Not for me, not on my end, not with this clean edit that I'm going for. So for me, the color is already there. It looks gorgeous. Once I add that saturation to it, it brings all this light in here that we didn't really notice before on the flowers. You see, pretty. Okay, we're gonna flatten it. And I'm wondering what else we can do to this pretty thing. Oh, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna brighten her up a tiny bit. There is a way to do this by hand, but it's kind of my little secret that I learned in the Nicole Smith workshop. So I'm not gonna do that today. For right now, I'm gonna show you how to use the brush. Again, this one is the Florabella. What's it called? Florabella Color Play Actions. This is from 2012, you guys. So I don't know if it's still available. Could be, might not be. If it is, probably worth it to get it. I don't know. Totally up to you. I'm gonna do the dark and light brushes play. And I'm gonna use the light brush action. I've never really used the dark brush, but I'm gonna use the light brush. Again, we're on white. Got your brush. Opacity about 21%. That's fine. Kind of like to use a bigger brush for a face. And let's just see how that looks. Sometimes what this will do, though, is it'll take a tiny bit of color out. And I'm not a huge fan of that, especially since baby girl's so pale. Let's see, let's brush it right here. I really was just going for her. But because I don't use reflectors when I shoot, and I don't always brush like this, but, you know, why not? And what you could even do is you could go around here, and you could be like, oh, the sun is coming. Oh, we want to brighten it. Because remember, we couldn't lighten the whole thing with our curves because it was going to bring out the light in the tint, and we didn't want that. So I do like a nice, light, airy photo. If you keep brushing, it's going to get a little brighter. My main thing is I wanted to brighten baby up. She's almost a little cool for me, so I might do something about that. Oh, I don't know. See? I don't know. So that makes it real cool, and this is a little warmer, which I tend to like. Let's just tiny bit. Let's lower it a little bit. We're at like 10%. I'm not loving that. Are you guys loving that? I don't know about that. Let's see. I feel like it's just bringing her skin color down, but she needs a little bit of light, so we're going to flatten that. Okay. And you could, if you wanted to. Let's see. Let's make the brush bigger. I like a 1200 brush. So we're going to go through, because your light really is kind of coming from here. I want to make sure it's deliciously bright. So that's the before. No, I don't like it. I'll leave it off. Let's see about her color. I'm crazy with color because my husband is a master. I want to just make sure that this thing is nice and toasty. I like a nice warm image. I don't want to make it too warm. But I do feel like she needs a little bit because she's very pale and she tends to be blue sometimes. Her and her sister tend to be pretty blue in photos, and I'm not a huge fan of that. Okay, so I think that might be it. I don't know. I'm going to touch a tiny bit of exposure. I mean, like a hair. Woo. Oh yeah, see, even just a little bitty thing like that, you guys see the difference? It does it. Just a little boop. What do you think? Pretty? I like it. Dreamy, pretty. And that is it. That is my over edit, and I think we're done. That's it.